My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Well, hello there, and welcome to WTA Weekly. It's Grand Slam season. It is the Asia Pacific Grand Slam season. So who better to preview the women's singles event than the one, the only, Mr. Tennis Asia himself? It's Eddie McGee. Eddie, how are you doing?
Very good, very good. Joining you from a very cold Seoul on the other side of the world. But yeah, looking forward to this Australian Open. And as you said, it's the slam of the Asia Pacific.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I forgot your Northern Hemisphere. So you are probably experiencing something like the weather that we're currently experiencing in the northern parts of the UK. We've been kind of battling where I am, snow and ice and temperatures dropping as low as -7.
Well, beat that. It was -11 here the other day. So
my word.
Yeah, it suddenly got really cold, but yeah, it's up a bit now. But yeah, just that's winter for you here. And yeah, but my first time here on WTA Weekly. So
you not done WTA Weekly before? I swear I've done a show with you.
Did we do it? I think it's my first time. Well, I mean, I've done ATP Weekly before. I've definitely done that before. But yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously been out talking tennis many times. But
yeah, many times. I mean, let's face it, you're practically part of the team. So, all right. Well, we've got lots of things to look forward to. We don't want to take too long to kind of get going. What I did want to do before we kind of dig into our usual super deep nerdy draw preview that we usually do on WTA Weekly, I think we'd be very much remiss to if we missed all the action, some of the action from this week. That action being, we'll start with in Australia, which is much hotter than here, and maybe we're both a little bit jealous. But yeah, someone who is definitely very, very strong in terms of form right now is Madison Keys, who just won her 9th WTA title, won her a singles title, another 500 title, obviously adding to the one from Eastbourne last year. She's now got herself back into the top 15 on the WTA rankings. And yeah, Eddie and I caught some of the final against Pegula, and it has to be said, Madison Keys is looking very strong, and I'm detecting a lot more optimism about her at the moment.
Yeah, and it's just obviously good timing for her. Obviously, I mean, this is just the week before Australia, so obviously it's good to head in good form, and yeah, I mean, it's just good from her to sort of, she's maintaining a consistent level, and yeah, coming in, yeah, you got to say it bodes well for her performance. Just maybe hope that she doesn't get too if she still has enough energy for the AO. But yeah, obviously great, another 500 title, and obviously to beat Pegula and some other good players along the way, like Ostapenko, Kasatkina, Samsonova. So yeah, another great 500 title for her.
Yeah, agreed. I think that looking at that title run, the fact she wasn't necessarily bothered by it, I think, but by any of them, was impressive. The Pegula final, I think she got a little bit of a niggle during the second set, which distracted her. But yeah, Pegula did her best with what she had, would be able to redirect everything. But Keys has just added so much more to her game. It feels like, yeah, she's not just like a big hitter. She can do pretty much anything on the court now. And this is, I guess, historically for Australia, playing and winning the week before is actually not necessarily the best thing. It's very rare in recent times that someone will then go straight to Australia and do really, really well. But and we'll get into Keys' draw in a minute. But I think Keys should feel confident enough that she's good enough, fit enough, and her draw is kind enough that she should still be able to have a good crack at second week.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously what she's going to hope for. But to expect her maybe to go all the way and win it after playing the week before, that's something that's would be very difficult. But yeah, I mean, it's better to go in good form, isn't it, than being losing a bunch of matches, So
yeah, absolutely. Like case in point, Donna Vekic is going in with a 0-3 record for the season already. As kind of the opposite end of the scale. Don't want to pick on Donna, but she's the only one I can think of who's lost 3 matches in 2 tournaments going into the Australian Open. So that's Keys. I probably think, do you want to talk about other things? I think we want to spend more time on Australia today. I know there were some pretty good matches that happened sort of midway through the tournament. A lot of people got excited by Yulia Putintseva beating Diana Schneider. That was quite an exciting match. Did catch the end of that. But yeah, I want to make sure we get some good time looking at the Australian Open draw. But I don't want to ignore that McCartney Kessler is now also a 2-time WTA Tour champion, adding her to her Cleveland title. Was it Cleveland last year? Yeah, it's Cleveland. Doubting myself live on air. That's never a good sign. And she beats Elise Mertens in the final. And it has to be said that when McCartney Kessler catches fire, she really does. And I did not expect her kind of to win 2 WTA titles within 12 months. I mean, that's really impressive from her.
Yeah, and again, it was like this week, I mean, impressive in terms of the players that she's beaten. I mean, obviously coming through the number 1 and 2 seeds there, and then especially bageling Mertens in the final there. You've got to say hats off, and nice for her. I mean, and as I remember, I think she's drawn against Zhang Shuai, isn't it, in the opening round in Australia?
I would expect you to know something like that, given your handle.
Yeah. And we can maybe talk about that in a bit when we go over the draw.
Yeah, absolutely, we can do. I think Kessler has a good chance of maybe getting some good momentum. I think Zhang Shuai is obviously a tough player, but I do think Kessler maybe has a bit more momentum behind her going into the tournament. She got a win in Auckland as well, I think. It was either Auckland or Brisbane, but first week. And second round might be a bit tougher against Putintseva or Avanesian. Kessler certainly showing that at least on the 250 level, she's a force to be reckoned with. So exciting times for her and exciting times for us, because now we're going to talk Australian Open. Congratulations to both players. Good week to be an American tennis fan. But we know what we're all here for. We're here to talk Australian Open tennis. And reminder, what we usually do on WTA Weekly, when we do break down the draw before a Grand Slam, is we'll go through quarter by quarter. And the standard questions I'm going to ask every time are going to be, which first round matches are we going to be most excited by? Who do we see as the biggest threat to the top 4 seeds? So isn't like the top seed in that quarter, effectively. And who do we think actually is going to make the semi-final? And then we'll kind of wrap up with an overview of the tournament at the end. But so I will see if I can get this on the screen, and we'll take a look. See if I can get this big enough to see. So I might need you or the audience, by the way. Feel free to put comments in the live chat. So that's already too small, I can tell. Bear with me. Let's see if I can get this nice and big. How's that looking on your side?
looks okay, but I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
I know that's not the actual draw. Oh my word. Okay, yeah, I see what's happening here. Yeah. Maybe. How's that?
Yeah, you can sort of zoom out, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah. Technical difficulties, please stand by. If not, we could always use Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia is actually what I use in my stream, but
yeah,
or my podcast.
Yeah, I know. I thought it would be better to do that. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Whilst we're finding something to look at, so the viewers can follow along, why don't we, instead of kind of umming and erring and whatnot, let's talk about first quarter, so the Sabalenka quarter, and we'll start with which events, which first round matches are you most excited by, Eddie, from that quarter?
In the first quarter.
Yeah. So yeah, between Sabalenka and Junction when?
I think in the. I need to get it up and look again. Sorry.
Okay.
I mean, actually, for me, actually, obviously, I'm focused a lot on the Asian players, but I do think it's a good first round matchup. Is Yuan Wei against Pavlyuchenkova, just because I think that it's perhaps. I mean, obviously, drawing a seed isn't ideal for Yuan, but. With her style, I think she has a good chance against Pavlyuchenkova. She's got a pretty aggressive baseline style, and also, I just think it's going to be a good matchup, and I think that's a good one in that top quarter.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I did mark that down as a match that would be worth. Also, nice to hear how to correctly pronounce Yuan Wei's name, because I've not heard it before. Like, I've always seen it written down, and no commentator has ever pronounced it in a way that I'm like, I don't think that sounds right.
Okay. I think I'm right. Yeah, I've said it enough times. I hope I'm right.
You're making yourself doubt. You're making you doubt yourself now. That's not what I'm here to do. But yeah, okay. I agree. I think I did mark that. Certainly, if you are at the Australian Open on Sunday, which is when this match is taking place, its last match on court 3, you could do a lot worse than going to court 3 and checking that one out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be entertaining. All right, so we've got the draw up. So let's have a look, Eddie. And what I guess there's the obvious headline, which is Grand Slam champion clash, Arina Sabalenka and Sloane Stephens. However, given the form Sloane Stephens is currently in, and given the form Arina Sabalenka is currently in, this seems to be a fairly obvious result. I don't know how many people I think people are excited by the names more than the prospect of how the actual match is going to play out.
Yeah, I mean, it would be quite shocking if Stephens were to get a result here. And I mean, even if she was to make it close, I think people would be rather surprised, right? So, I think it's not a bad opening round for Sabalenka. She can definitely win this and straights, I think, but then also maybe get a little bit of a good workout. So I think it's a good opening round for Sabalenka, and it's not one that we would put down as a match of the first round, I would think.
No, I think it's obviously the obvious match you'd put on a night session if you're an organizer. You've got a lot of name recognition. So that's going to be great. And obviously, if you maybe don't follow tennis week in and week out, and you don't know how Sloane Stephens has been doing recently, I mean, Stephens is a player who I could see it's not impossible for her to catch fire and challenge Sabalenka and make it an epic. But I think it would take a heck of an effort to take Sabalenka down in Australia. I'll tell you what the match I am really excited about, and this is the one I've been hyping a lot on Twitter. Clara Towson against Linda Noskova. Both of them are coming in. Like, Towson's won Auckland. Noskova's got good history in Australia. She did okay in. Did she win a match in this one? I don't think she did actually, but yeah. When with this one, I do think that it's possible that Noskova could catch fire. They're both young players who hit the ball pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Noskova shows up, or they both show up, that's going to be an epic.
Yeah, and Towson, a lot of power herself, and of course a friend of the show, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, we always have to mention this, but and perhaps maybe she's due a little run here in Australia. Feels like somewhere that she might be able to do well. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting. Yeah, I think out of that top section, there's not many like absolute standouts, but that's definitely one that you look at that and you think that could be a good match.
Yeah. You've got I think the only other one that might be of some interest might be Magdalena Frek against Polina Kudermetova, only because Kudermetova is making some waves and Frek is a well-established top 30 player. I guess looking further down in the other section, Pavlyuchenkova for Juan is probably the best match best prospect match from kind of the second section. Todone Zheng even, that is going to be interesting because although Zheng's going to be the heavy favorite, Todone is a very promising young player who's currently trying to break through at the minute. So I think that's going to be seen as a test to see, like a real test of her mettle at the minute. I think that's going to be kind of a curiosity for a lot of established tennis fans.
Yeah, and I also think that Zhang is obviously coming into this under pressure, right? Because she has to defend that final from last year, and just the overall expectation on her is much bigger than it was a year ago. So yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah, obviously in these matches, certainly right through this little section here, she'd be expected to win all of the matches that she plays, and yeah, you got to wonder, like, let's see how does she handle if she is pushed a little bit. How does she handle that? I do think that she will be okay, at least for the first few rounds, but it's something I'm going to be watching out for sure.
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen Todone play, so I don't know what she's like. That could be. I think that could depend on kind of her confidence level.
Yeah, she came to qualies, of course, so in form.
Yeah.
She has she had some okay results coming into this. So she got some wins through qualies in Brisbane. So yeah, it's one that Zhang should be able to navigate okay. But you've always you can't what's the word, underestimate your opponents too, and I don't think she will do that. But yeah.
All right. Well, speaking about Zhang and sort of her progress and everything else, because we're currently starting to get into little predictions here. Do you think that Zhang represents the biggest threat to Sabalenka in this quarter out of everyone here, or are you seeing any other names that you're thinking maybe?
Yeah, good question. Well, you've also got Mira Andreeva there, right?
Yes.
So
who actually had a toughish first round against Bushkova. That's a match we didn't mention.
Right. But of course, Andreeva's still, she's still so young, right? But they did play recently, right? Andreeva and Sabalenka, and obviously Sabalenka came out fairly comfortably a winner there in straight sets. So, but this is a different environment, and Andreeva is always learning and growing. So perhaps we might see them in the fourth round. I don't really expect that Andreeva would get the win there, but the thing is with Zhang, probably in terms of the level that she's able to bring, perhaps she is the bigger threat to Sabalenka because they could meet in the quarterfinals. But obviously the 5-0 record that Sabalenka has against her, and most of them have been straight sets victories for Sabalenka, except for the Wuhan final, which was actually a really good match from Zheng's side. But it's I mean, I suppose, and I was talking about this on my podcast as well, is just that like Zhang, if she's going to face Sabalenka, maybe a quarterfinal, if I'm going to twist it in a positive way, it's better for her to face her there than say later on in the tournament, maybe in like a final again, which was obviously last year and it didn't go well for Zhang. So, but it's hard to see. I mean, it's the great puzzle is like, how can she actually get one over on Sabalenka? And it's not a problem just for her, it's a problem for most of the tour, right?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's very similar to the problem Coco Gauff had against Iga Swiatek. I don't think that exists anymore, but after a little bit of work, Gauff managed to figure out what she needed to do. And look, even Casper Ruud eventually got a win against Novak Djokovic. So I think that
it's like it probably won't last forever, right? She's probably going to beat her at some point if they play enough times, right? I mean, you never.
Yeah.
So would it come here? Who knows? I mean, I do feel like overall Zhang has improved generally, but maybe just hasn't made progress in that particular matchup. But I mean, this is obviously the time to do it if she's going to do it. But it's I think if she does actually get there to the quarterfinal, and if she can get a foothold in that in the match, if she wins a set, then perhaps maybe the pressure's on Sabalenka a bit, and we'll see if she can handle that. But I mean, I think it is that she is the biggest threat to Sabalenka in that quarter. But it's she could have had tougher, I would say, Sabalenka.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's probably more players that she's be more worried about. I mean, she does have Donna Vekic in that section that she could end up playing in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But Vekic has not started the year amazingly, as I alluded to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that would probably Vekic could ring some alarm bells for her if they were to meet in the quarters.
Mm-hmm.
I would be curious to see if the winner of the Tauson Noskova match, whether that would maybe take a set. One of them would take a set off her in round 3. I could see them maybe giving it a good go against Serena. And then there's a lot of debate over what makes a dark horse, right? But for me, the dark horse in terms of like, nobody's talking about how to win this, but I wouldn't be or do something big, but I wouldn't be that surprised. Deanna Schneider. What could she? I'm looking at her and going, if she catches fire, something could happen there.
Yeah, and I think definitely a threat for Zhang in that section if they do meet, and then perhaps. I mean, obviously, it's sort of gone under the radar a bit, hasn't she? Because I mean, she had a great year last season. I think it was 4 titles she won. So
3, I think.
3, okay.
3 or 4, but I think it was 3.
I mean, it's still a lot, right? So, So, and I mean, the only thing I would say, like, I mean, if she does play Zhang, then it's like I remember they played not that long ago, and Zhang came out on top. It wasn't a particular, it wasn't a particularly close match, but I mean, I do think she's someone you have to look at and say, well, she has. A dark horse is perhaps the right word, at least for this section. But beating Sabalenka is like would be a massive shock. Let's be honest, though.
Yeah, and she's got to get through potentially to get there, Zhang in the 4th round as well. So that would be quite the run. That would be tough. Okay, so are we saying that we don't really? We're saying it's possible, but the overwhelming favorite to get through this quarter is Aryna Sabalenka.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like we're seeing like, oh, they could challenge her. Oh, they could do something. But on balance of previous matches, potentially not. Really not. All right, section 2. Let's go. Okay, so same question. We'll start from the first round onwards. Yeah, go for it. So first round matches that you're exciting for from this second quarter.
From the second quarter, yeah. I mean, I think an obvious one is well, I think there's quite a few here, right? But
there's quite a lot.
Yeah, Osaka and Garcia. I mean, there's one that I'll be looking forward to. I mean, obviously they played last year. I mean, I'm maybe expecting Osaka to be able to get the win, assuming she's fresh and everything. But yeah, it's definitely a standout match, I think, in that little section. Also, Bencic and Ostapenko.
Yeah.
Of course, Bencic is actually just newly, recently come back, right, after her time out. So, Ostapenko, and always she's always going to bring her aggressive style, and then Bencic. It's a good test for both of them in that opening round, and I mean, it's just a tough little section, that one, isn't it? There, it's just horrible win for Mukova, Osaka, Bencic, Ostapenko. Yeah, so a lot to look forward to.
That's going to be a really jammed third round, trying to get to the fourth round section. You're absolutely right. I mean, what did Mukova and Osaka do to deserve potentially being drawn against each other in a round 2 when they're both kind of catching fire for the Australian Open? I think that's going to be the round 2 match that everyone's excited about potentially. And that's Garcia or Podoroska do something special. Bencic Ostapenko for me is the match of this section this quarter. I'm very keen on seeing how. I'm very excited to see how that could go, because I that was the one that was in my bracket when I was doing a bracket, and that was one of 1 or 2 matches I literally did not know which one was going to come out, which way it was going to go, and for me that level of uncertainty makes it really, really interesting. Whereas most of the matches I have had an inkling of which way it might fall. So I'm excited about that. I tell you what, also I'm excited about in terms of first round. I'm putting a seed on upset alert with Paula Badosa and Wang Jinyu. Actually, Jinyu's got a really good chance of knocking Badosa out.
Yeah, and actually, I said the same thing in our own preview. But I think obviously because tennis Asia interest there, but I mean, obviously Wang, she's been at a pretty high level, for a while now, and she's in that sort of top 40, so. And as an opening round matchup, I think that's not great for Badosa at all. Out of this not unseeded player she could have faced, and Wang, she's got big serve and bit of power herself. That's going to be, and I remember in the slams recently, she's had some good matches with other top players. So I definitely agree with you that is a potential banana skin for Badosa.
Yeah, I think I've got 3 players in my fourth round that people would be I think other people could look at and go, wait, what? Really? You've gone with them? And Wang Jinyu is one of them. I have her making the fourth round of this tournament.
And it was back in Wimbledon. She beat Jessica Pegula in the second round, Wang, and then at the French Open, she had that it was a tough match actually that she probably should have won against Potapova, but that was in Wimbledon. She got to the round of 16, beat Harriet Dart as well before falling to Svitolina. So I mean, she's definitely got potential to do well in Australia, and it'd be a huge for her to be able to beat Badosa, but it's something that's within it's something that it's within her capabilities, I think.
I'll tell you what, this is a player that again, I want to ask your opinion on. This might be a bit of a tangent. Naio Hibinio, I think she's got herself a couple of decent wins in the first week of the season on the tour, and then she's qualified. I'm looking at her potentially pulling off an upset against Kostyuk.
Yeah, I was sort of umming and eyeing this one as whether. Yeah, but it's just Kostyuk has just got like a. I mean, it's just she's got like maybe a bit too much power for Habino, but it just depends what kind of Kostyuk comes out, because if she's a bit below her best, yeah, maybe Habino can get into it. I mean, Habino had a pretty good qualifying herself. She came through a tough final match there. I think, yeah, she had to come through the super breaker, like 11-9, I think. It was against Dart, right? Or no, sorry, it wasn't the super breaker. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. It was just in straight set. She won, didn't she, against Harriet Dart? It was a 7-5 in the second set. But yeah, good qualification from her. And yeah, she has, although she's a bit of a, she's not the biggest player. She hits the ball really cleanly, so she has actually decent power in her strokes, and yeah, she's quite a handy player. Yeah, and I suppose for Kostyuk, if she out of the qualifiers she could have faced, it is one that's on the more difficult side. So yeah, potentially, yeah, we never know.
Yeah. Last first round match I want to ask about, because we've got another one of those, similar to the Tadone Zheng match in the first quarter. A young talent meeting a top seed situation. So let's see how they manage it. Maya Joint and Jessica Pegula, both coming off recent deep runs. Pegula obviously final Adelaide, losing to Keys, we mentioned earlier. Maya Joint made the semis in Hobart and lost to Elise Mertens. And certainly if you're Australian, there's a lot of fuss about her. That might be a match that I could see will definitely get some attention when it comes to Australia, but maybe one that's worth looking at for those who are like looking at future talent as well, to see how Joint kind of deals with that one.
Yeah, well, it's an intriguing one. And what day are they going to be playing?
I do have that actually. Let me look that up. I've got it in front of. I've got my other laptop with all my stuff here. So I think they are on day 2. No, day 1. They're tomorrow. No, right. They're day 2. They're day 2. Yeah. So Monday.
Monday. Okay. So yeah, obviously Pegula's just finished runner-up and played a lot of matches. Yeah, then having to go in not too much time into this tie. Perhaps that might work a bit to Joint's favor. And, she is obviously going to have that backing of the home crowd. And it's intriguing. I mean, I haven't seen too much of Joint to say too much about her level, but obviously those results are impressive, in Hobart, coming through against Lynette and Kenin. So it's definitely one of intrigue, but it'd be, I think, for Pegula to lose, she's maybe going to have to come out a bit below par, right?
Yeah, I think Joint also had a long 3-set loss to Azarenka in Brisbane. That I think I think I did catch that. She was a breakup and the decider. So she's at the point in her career and her development where she can tussle with Victoria Azarenka. Make of that what you will.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely possible. And yeah, I think if you're going to pick out, we're talking about some of the ties to look out for you. It's probably there, right, in that quarter.
All right. You know what we haven't mentioned, and again, this is very similar to the match at the top of the draw, Sabalenka Stevens, another Clash of Grand Slam champions, where we're pretty confident of the direction that it's going to go, but maybe slightly less of a foregone conclusion than the other one, Gauff Kenin.
I mean, I would definitely expect Gauff to be able to get through it, but I suppose it depends on. I mean, Kenin, she had that obviously awful run, but then she sort of finished off 2024 pretty well, right, with the runner-up, right? She finished. So, yeah, I mean, if she can come out playing her best, perhaps she can make it competitive, and maybe we can get a a match to watch, but it would be quite shocking, wouldn't it, if if she was to get one win over Gauff after obviously how well she started this year, Gauff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think this new version of Coco Gauff would not lose to Sophia Kenin in the same way that she did at Wimbledon at 2023. But at the same time, I do think that Kenin is one of those players who likes a challenge and likes to step up, and that's where Kenin really shows up, is when she knows she's got a really good player to beat. I don't think Kenin's going to make it easy for Gauff, but I do think Gauff's got the edge in that matchup now. And like, I'm looking at, I saw a lot of discussions on Twitter about Gauff's draw and how difficult it was. Her round 2 is between opponent is either Jean or Burridge, which, let's be honest, I think that's going to be a match that Jake Davies, commenter on the channel, is going to be looking forward to. But Gauff, but I think Gauff would be the heavy favourite to win that one. I would lean towards it being Jodie Burridge she's playing. Then probably Leylah Fernandez in round 3. Again, we saw how that went at United Cup. Gauff had more than a measure for her. I think Fernandez made it interesting, but it didn't look like Gauff was losing that match. And then Gauff's got, I think the tough one then is the 4th round, potentially with like Mukova or Garcia or Mukova or Garcia, most likely. Garcia, Osaka. What am I talking about?
Osaka, yeah. Osaka.
Yeah, Mukova or Osaka, maybe Ostapenko. Why am I talking Garcia? I mean, like, let's face it, Nick is backing Caroline Garcia to pull off the upset. Oh yeah, previewing the show for later. But with with that scenario, like that potential 4th round is tough for Gauff. It, like, whoever it is, even like peak Bencic. But I just get the sense that, like, when you look at it, you're going, Gauff is still at least 60-40 favourite in any of those matchups.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, more than 60-40 for the first 2, to be honest. And let's see. I mean, sorry, you're talking about Osaka?
Yeah, did you say? I didn't know who the first 2.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Gauff, right? So Gauff, but you're saying, okay, Gauff against
any of her potential 4th round opponents is at
the 4th round opponents, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think you're right about at least 60-40. Yeah, for Mukova, Osaka, Bencic or Ostapenko. I mean that's just credit to her. I mean how she's been playing the last several months, right? So, yeah, I mean, you would expect her to get through those first 3 rounds, and to have a tough 4th round, that's not that bad, right? I mean, that's just kind of sort of expected to some degree. So, and who knows who it's going to be, but if it's Osaka or Mukova playing well, but that could be the trickiest for her, I think. But ultimately, I think she has enough. At the moment, her base level is just too good for them at the moment. So you would still expect her to get through.
Yeah. Do we ever see Mukova? Like, if it ends up Mukova, which I think is the most likely person coming in that section, that really packed section as we discussed, is there anything Mukova could do? It's similar to what we talked about with the Zhang Sabalenka matchup. Like, Mukova is now 5-love down in the matchup to Gauff, which is a surprise to me it's that one-sided. Until you actually watch the match and you realise that basically what the problem is that Mukova tries to open up the court with a variety and Gauff can just get there. So what is it that Mukova needs to do potentially if they were to meet in the 4th round to try and turn that around?
I mean, it's not easy. Yeah, I think that's the problem, is like Gauff is just such a well-rounded player at the moment. And yeah, you can't just hit your way through her. Although most, maybe Mukova can do that against most players, and she can, right? But then yeah, I think she's. I mean, playing with variety is one thing, but maybe she has to change up a little bit in terms of like, you know, yeah, it's hard to say, but like it's maybe like she's got to be a little bit more unpredictable in terms of like, you know, mixing it. Obviously, we're talking about variety, but maybe just in terms of her shot selection as well. But I think. Yeah, I think if you're going to do it, you've probably got to try and come out and go all guns blazing and try and win that first set. But yeah, it's obviously easier said than done.
Yeah, it is easier said than done. I mean, also, I do wonder, like, about Mukova and the rally, like her ability to stay in long rallies. I think obviously any pro tennis player has a very high ability to do that, like much more than anyone who is attempting the game like as an amateur. But I do sometimes think, how is she hanging with with sort of her opponents in sort of the bigger, longer exchanges? I mean, we saw that in that final she played against Jung in Palermo, where I think she was the one more likely to break down, and like she's going to have to keep that going against Gauff if that's what she wants to. If that's what she wants to do, but
yeah,
that may be something to look at as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so difficult, isn't it? I mean, Gauff is just like one of, if not, you know, the best athlete at the moment on the women's side, anyway. So, yeah, it's just, it's normally she can out hit her opponents, and she'll try and finish off, but against Gauff, it's just not as easy, and you just have to maybe mix it up with taking your foot off the gas a little bit, and then sort of finding your moment to step it up. But it's not easy to do that, of course, and that's something that she's going to have to work out herself. And I think, you know, and just sort of, yeah, it's you know, maybe she needs a bit of luck as well, but
yeah. So we're talking about Gauff being the favourite to get to the fourth round. Like given the match through the fourth round, get to the quarterfinals and that matchup. I think it's highly likely in the quarterfinals she's playing Jessica Pegula, because I'm looking at Pegula's draw. She will probably, if she gets through joint, she's probably playing Elise Mertens, who's also had a deep run. They've both lost the finals this week. Then Samsonova probably round 3. I suppose it could be Danilovic, but most likely Samsonova. And then by seed, Badosa or Kostyuk, but I'm on record now saying I think she's playing Wang Jingyu in round 4. Yeah. I think Pegula would be very unfortunate not to make the quarterfinals. So the question then becomes, first of all, do you agree with that? But then the follow-up question is, if you do, does that make Pegula the biggest threat to Gauff making the semi-finals?
Yeah, well, I guess. I mean, I think the only thing with Pegula is like if she does. I mean, yeah, the first 3 rounds it doesn't look like it's going to be particularly too much for her. So yeah, I think she does have a good chance to get through to the quarters and face Gauff. But if she is tested a bit more, I mean, obviously she's just played the tournament. Whether that maybe fatigue starts to kick in a little bit, and if she gets a difficult match, playing Maya Joint there, I mean, you never know, there could be an upset there. But I mean, if she does, like as you said, like maybe you're predicting Wang to get the upset. If Wang was to get through to the fourth round and play Pegula, actually, I forgot that, you know, Wang actually beat her twice, right? Because it was at Wimbledon, but then beat her at was it Wuhan? So maybe. I think Wang got to the semi, so she had a good run, and I think she beat Pegula again. So yeah, it might not be good omen for her if that, but but until the fourth round, we don't know who her opponent's going to be, but you would say that she has a good chance just to get there. So in that sense, yeah, I think she will probably get through and play Gauff in the quarters, and whether she can really test Gauff or not. I mean, I'm leaning again towards not, but yeah, I mean, she's obviously done not bad in the past, so yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I agree with that. I mean, obviously, yeah, you would expect Gauff to be the favourite, especially given the form she's in compared to Pegula. Obviously, historically, Pegula has been a thorn in Gauff's side, and I think their matchup, their head-to-head, is fairly even, if not slightly in Pegula's favour. So I could, so yeah, I could see. Yeah, I guess I could see Pegula pulling off the upset, but you're right in terms of with that, like we would expect Gauff to pull it off, but I don't necessarily see it as 100% done deal. I don't think I think that's the one I'm more likely to be, and that's going to depend on if Gauff and Pegula play. It's going to very much depend on how they've looked through the tournament, what kind of progress they've got. Pegula will be the one carrying the more fatigue. I think that's the one I would be more willing to kind of go below a 60-40 favour to Gauff.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, obviously, yeah, the matchup has been good for them, and yeah, you have to say if Pegula was able to if she is in the quarterfinals, then she's obviously been playing pretty well just to get there. So the last match they played was not that long ago. That was in the WTA finals, though, and Gauff came through that one well, and really sort of since that she sort of carried that form right through to now, and I think. Yeah, that's my thinking is that, I mean, really, I think at the moment, Coco is the woman to beat, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. I think so. We're both in agreement, barring a very strong performance from, let's face it, some good players in that section. Coco Gauff is making the semi-finals of the Australian Open.
Yeah, I agree. There's not too much controversial here in our predictions. No.
All right, let's see how safe we get with the next section, the next quarter. And we're gonna. I think this section where we start going through like first round matches of interest, is probably going to be a lot shorter. This is the section I think is a little bit more like starved of like big name clashes. There's one in particular that does catch my eye, though, I would say. But yeah, what do you think? Any first round matches from this third quarter that you're thinking, that could be quite good?
Okay, so, well, I mean, first off, there you got Rybakina against Emerson Jones for the 16-year-old. You're expecting probably Rybakina
top seed clashing with a young talent coming through.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, I think you're right though in terms of like overall. I mean, that's just the intrigue of that, and potentially if Rybakina does win that, she'll have to play Jovic in the second round, which is Eva Jovic is another talented youngster coming through, so that could be quite interesting. But the first round matches, yeah, there's not too much to stand out. I mean, we've got Svitolina Castello, but also. Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously focused on some of the Asian players. We got first-time qualifier Wei against Paolini. So that was the player who I was thinking of. She came through the tough final round of qualifying and won the Super Breaker 11-9. Yeah, so making her debut against Paolini, that's obviously quite, a first slam debut match. But in terms of that, I mean, I don't really have any sort of ones that obviously stick out to me. I mean, what are you thinking?
Pretty much in the same situation as you. With this, it was a bit difficult. So the one I gravitated to first was Svitolina Castello. I think if Castella's on, I think that could be quite a competitive match and quite exciting. Rybakina Jones is fascinating because it's going to. Let's see how this 16-year-old junior number one deals with a Grand Slam champion who's kind of near the peak of her career. So that's interesting. Other than that, I think I've just written down a few matches that probably like I could see being dramatic or could go either way. So Marino against Bolter, Townsend, Zarazua, Bayek against Dolhide, and Kovanic against Sun. But I was kind of really scraping it. To be honest, yeah, there's not a lot here of like really, really interesting first round matches on paper. Having said that, could get an absolute Grand Slam classic coming out of these. But yeah, okay, so let's talk about big picture then. So normally when we've done WTA Weekly in the past, we kind of go, well, who's the biggest threat to the top seed in the quarter, which in this case is Jasmine Paolini. And it's not Elena Rybakina.
Yeah.
That's interesting, I think. Yeah, Elena Rybakina, that's going to be interesting to see. How much confidence do you have in either of them making the quarterfinals?
Well, because obviously Rybakina, first of all, we'll talk about her. She had a little bit of time out and obviously has come back. I've still been sort of impressed with the way that she's played since she has come back, in terms of like, she has come sort of slipped back into a good level. So, and yeah, I mean, obviously, I think first time after her break was at the WTA finals, and yeah, she lost those two matches, but they were competitive, and then she beat Sabalenka. So, and then obviously it's a bit of a weird situation with her, but then yeah, she comes to the United Cup and she lost to Swiatek, but it was fairly close. But then she won all her other matches there. But so in that respect, I'm not feeling like I expect her to do pretty well, but maybe a little intrigue, as I said before, like in that if she does play Jovic in that second round match. I mean, obviously it's just a 17-year-old, but it's someone that actually she played at the US Open, right? And she took Alexandrova to 3 sets in the second round.
Yeah, I watched that match. Because Jovic was 16 at the time, and I was like, I don't remember seeing many 16-year-olds with that level of power being able to go toe-to-toe with someone who hits the ball as big as Alexandrova in that way.
Yeah, and so that's got to tell you that, the little bit is that, like, if she's already able to compete at that sort of level with that quality of player, does, I mean, obviously Rybakina, it's going to be more difficult with how she serves but like, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's definitely intriguing. And I think it's more intriguing than that first round matchup for Rybakina. But after that, I mean, you've got the seed in her section, Yastremska, and then further on, potentially Madison Keys or Danielle Collins. But I mean, yeah, I think maybe the biggest threat there would be Keys, obviously on the back of her title. But I'm kind of expecting Rybakina to get through that section, and yeah, and I think if they do meet, I think she will beat Paolini in the quarters.
Yeah, I think you have the same as me. I have Rybakina and Paolini both making it into the quarterfinals, and then a showdown. And I think on a faster hard court, I would back Rybakina to make the semifinals. And I think, yeah, we would expect their seeds to be swapped. I think definitely were in my power ranking because I put Rybakina 4 and Paolini 6. But I think, yeah, Rybakina is, if she's on, should come through this section. That being said, I do think that Madison Keys or Danielle Collins are dangerous people who could upset either or both of them. No one's really talking up Collins at the minute, possibly because she's not played much. Maybe because she cooled off a bit since that crazy run beginning of last year. And Keys has got this momentum from winning Adelaide. But I wouldn't rule Collins out from doing something.
And what about, I mean, if you were looking at threats maybe to Paolini, I mean, we've also got we've got Svitolina there, but then also Katie Bolter's there. Perhaps she could be a threat, and they might meet in the 4th round. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I've gone on record, I think, as saying on Twitter, as saying I think this is Katie Bolter's best chance in terms of draw before the tournament starts to make a Grand Slam 4th round that she's ever had, probably may ever have. And I think given how she performed against Iga and performed in the United Cup, I think she's got a good chance of doing that. If you look at the people around her, Marina could be tricky, Gadecki could be tricky maybe, but that's all going to be on Bolt, depending on how Bolter plays. I could see her in the 4th round, and then it's going to depend on her confidence levels of how she deals with Jasmine Paolini. I agree with you. Bolter is a dangerous player. I do think on track record, I would still lean towards Paolini if they played, but it's not crazy to me.
Yeah, it's Bolter with the seed that she would face probably would be Haddad Maya in the 3rd round. And
Haddad Maya's not in a good place right now.
Yeah, I think that would be a better matchup for her, one that she should be able to deal with. And then, Paolini's a completely different player though. So,
playing the best of it. She's carrying that form over from last year. It's obvious. I think it's a whole different thing. So there's possibility. I think this section you've got more of a possibility of some openness with, as we said, Keys, Collins, and Bolter maybe coming through instead. But we're looking at Rybakina being the most likely. There's a lot of questions about whether she's in the best mental state. I'm not seeing any signs that's a problem. So I'm not going to factor that into my prediction.
And if she is, I don't think I've really seen it in her tennis yet. I mean, that's I think the style of play that she has. I mean, she's just got those weapons there that, it does a lot of work for her. And if she is feeling any mental fragility, then I don't think I've seen it yet. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, perhaps if if she is tested, then we might see that. But
all right. I think we're getting up to the hour mark. I think we know where we're going with this. We're both in agreement. We're seeing Elena Rybakina making the semi-finals as the most likely. Jasmine Paolini close second. Maybe, and then, but it is definitely one of the more winnable sections for someone else in there. All right, final quarter. The final quarter. So, staff as always, what would you say are the clashes of the first round that interest you the most? That you think have the most promise?
Alexandrova against Raducanu is definitely one that I'm curious about. Yeah. Well, I mean, they were supposed to play in was it Wimbledon, right? And that didn't happen.
Yeah, Alexandrova pulled out. Yeah.
And I think it's just an interesting little matchup. Yeah, because of course, Alexandrova, she's quite an aggressive, attacking game style. But then Raducanu, of course, she's aggressive sort of counter puncher. And I just think it could be a nice little match here. And I think both players, they'll fancy it in these conditions. And it's just curious about, but though, because we haven't seen Raducanu play, is how she's going to play. But then we've also got, there's quite a few matches there, aren't there? But there's Putin save Evanescence is one that I think could be quite good. And then also, we've just had McCartney Kessler just win a title, right? Against so their second title, but then she'll be playing Zhang Shuai in the first round. Now, funnily enough, that was Zhang Shuai after she lost. The first player that she beat after her 24 loss streak was McCartney Kessler. So, just a funny coincidence there. But Zhang, I don't know, like maybe she could cause trouble for Kessler there. So yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on that one as well. But who are you going to be looking out for?
Well, okay, so Alexandra Raducanu was on my list, and like that one has some interesting potential because we just don't know how that's going to go. Because you've got Alexandra who can be very up and down. You've got Raducanu who's going to be rusty. No idea which way that's going to go. That is going to cause some interest. Peter Tiver Avanasian, I'm predicting that to be a battle. I think that could be very, very entertaining. Kalanina and Jabeur interests me because they both had good runs in Brisbane. But the one I think I'm most excited by from this section, and I think if Ghosty was here, he would be very, very happy with me saying this. It's Emma Navarro against Peyton Stearns, and I've got Peyton Stearns pulling off the upset.
All right.
I think that's going to be a real battle, that one, and I think that could be some very, very good tennis.
Yeah, and Peyton Stearns, that was someone I watched here in Seoul. Oh, did she play against Emma Raducanu?
Was that a couple of years ago?
No, just like in the last autumn.
Oh,
so,
right.
I think it was Peyton Stearns who played. Yeah, I mean, I think that was against Raducanu, wasn't it? So yeah, I mean, yeah, she lost in the opening round. It was too tight. It was a tight match, 2 tie breaks. I mean, yeah, she's obviously a great competitor, Stearns, and yeah, she can. I think she'll be absolutely up for that one against Navarro, and yeah, I could definitely see that one being a good match. I think there's quite a few little interesting matches. I mean, Kim Burrow as well, someone who's qualified from Australia, and she has to play Kalinskaya in opening round. I think she'll be really up for it. Being at home,
it's like the opposite of the section we just had. Like I was like, oh, I'm just trying to 6 matches that I'm interested in, and then it just kept growing that list.
Yeah, some nice sort of little matchups or sort of intrigue there, or sort of evenly matched players. So that's interesting. Yeah,
I could see Birrell giving Kalinskaya some problems. I think that's one I'm interested in. Martic Christian as well. That could be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Martic sneaking in with a lucky loser there.
I think Clara Burrell pulled out just before the draw got made, or around just after the draw happened. So, I think, Bartic obviously going to be happy with that. Do we have Maria Sakkari on upset alert against Maria Osorio or Camila Osorio?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me a great deal.
No, neither.
Yeah, but and I think, interesting to see who gets through that. I mean, we just talked about 3 potential upsets. You're talking about Navarro, Stearns, Jabeur, Kalanina, and Sakkari. You could have someone maybe quite unexpected getting through to the 4th round. So,
yeah, you could actually.
Although Kasatkina might be waiting there, or Putintseva.
Yeah, there's some really tough seasoned players who are around. Yeah, Kasatkina, Putintseva. That could be a 3rd round match. That I think that could be quite entertaining if that happened. Especially since they're friends. If you watch What the Vlog.
Yeah.
All right. What about? Okay, so this is the Swiatek section. Probably one of the better draws that Swiatek has had in a while. Where do you see the biggest threat to Iga making the semis coming from, or do you think that there isn't anyone here who could do that?
Yeah, this is. I mean, I, to be honest, when I looked at the draw, I thought it's not bad for Swiatek in terms of perhaps. I mean, we don't know whoever gets through. Maybe it's going to be Alexandrova. She plays in the 3rd round. I think Alexandrova could be a bit of a test, but I think it's one that Swiatek should be able to get through. So in terms of ones that I think have the biggest chance to beat, I mean, Kalinskaya already said might chance maybe to slip up in that opening round match. But I mean, if she does get through, yeah, of course, it's probably on paper the most difficult player for her in that section. But yeah, do I really think that she's going to be a threat? No, and I think overall, considering the seeds that she has drawn, Swiatek, I think it's a nice little quarter for her, and I do expect her to get through it.
What about Amanda Anisimova? Who's playing Carl and then plays the winner of Alexander.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, she could. Yeah, I mean, that could. Yeah, that's a good shout. And I also, I mean, Azarenka's there as well. I just noticed. So
yeah, potential fourth round.
Yeah. Those. So yeah, I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say it's an easy section, but I just feel like, probably for Swiatek, she was hoping. If I'm a Swiatek fan, I think I'm fairly content and that she should be able to get through this. And it definitely could have been tougher.
Yes, it could have been tougher. Like, I'm looking at this going, round 3 is I am a Swiatek fan.
Okay.
Round 3 is the one I'm nervous about, because that's the one where she's usually having to shift gears and someone usually catches her out whilst she's shifting gears during that round 3, 4, even quarters section.
Yeah.
Against a big hitter like Alexandrova or even Anisimova, I would think she could get herself into a real battle there.
Yeah.
But then past that, a lot of people are saying Kalinskaya. I think Kalinskaya's actually got a relatively tough draw because she's got Gadecki, as we've been talking about. She's then potentially got Gracheva, probably, in round 2, who has a history of pulling off upsets. And then round 3, Azarenka, who I think is always pretty strong in Australia. Or Christian. Christian's tough as well. I don't necessarily think Kalinskaya is a done deal, so I'm not. I think if it happened in round 4, then I might be concerned, given what happened in Dubai. But again, Swiatek's learned from Dubai. I guess like Kalinskaya's form is the one that's kind of making me less concerned. And then beyond that, the most likely people that Swiatek would play in the quarterfinals would be, Navarro on seed. It could be Peyton Stearns. It could be Daria Kasatkina, who Swiatek has a very favourable matchup with. Or who I think it's going to be is going to be Ons Jabeur. Because I think Jabeur's playing very well right now. But I think Jabeur on a hard court against Swiatek, I don't know if she can get through Swiatek as she is now. And so, for me, if Swiatek avoids the banana skin round 3 against Alexandrova or Anisimova, she will make the semi-finals, but she's got to get through that bit that she always has a trouble with.
Yeah, I mean, I still think, Raducanu has a chance to get through that one, but and then it'll be her against Anisimova, which is her friend, isn't it? They're quite friendly, but I think, it's not that much to trouble her. I think you're right. Possibly like a Alexandrova playing really well, perhaps, or Anisimova in the 3rd round is perhaps the most likely test there. And then like that top section, I think you're right. Jabeur has a great chance to be able to get through. So perhaps Ons Jabeur. That little section with Navarro and Sakari, I think that's quite open, that one there. So as I say, like, Swiatek's playing well enough that she really should be able to get through to the quarters here, and I think she will.
Daria Kasatkina fans screaming at us going, what about Daria? Could do to get herself into scraps quite a lot, but it wouldn't be that crazy. She's done it before in a Grand Slam. Okay, so on balance, provided she doesn't sabotage herself or someone doesn't peak against her, Iga Swiatek's making semis.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. There we go. So now we're into a semi-final lineup of Sabalenka, Gauff, Rybakina Swiatek, and it's interesting that we've all kind of agreed this. Now, if that was the semi-final lineup, that would mean that Coco Gauff would not be able to gain the number 1 ranking, because we actually have a 3-way fight for world number 1 in this Australian Open. Sabalenka, Swiatek, and Gauff all have the chance to take the number 1, but Gauff needs Sabalenka to lose before the semi-finals, and Swiatek losing before the 3rd round. So it's not likely, but
yeah, so Sabalenka losing before would have to be from Zhang, and that's going to be something that we've never seen before. So that would be pretty. Oh yeah, true. Yeah, I shouldn't discount Andreeva's chances. Yeah. So, yeah, Gauff. Yeah, you would have to say is looking like the player to beat at the moment, and I would. Perhaps, if it's Gauff against Sabalenka, I'd make her. I would pick her to win. I think this time. Yeah.
You think Gauff upsets Sabalenka in the semis?
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay, I definitely think it's going to be closer than that semi-final they played last year. I could see that going 3. And if you look at the last 2 times they played, right, Gauff beat what was a slightly below par Sabalenka, admittedly, in the WTA finals. The Wuhan semi-final they played, Gauff's dips were what stopped her from winning that match, but it was a pretty good battle they had. I'm interested to see what kind of match they would have if they both played their best tennis. Yeah, that's a really tough one to call. I am going to play it a bit safer because I think it's Australia, and I think she has an affinity with the place that very few others do. I'm going to go with Sabalenka to win that one, but it's close. Okay. Rybakina Swiatek. Now, normally we would say fast hard court, and given what happened in Australia a couple of years ago, Rybakina. But then we saw what happened in the United Cup. And Swiatek able to kind of deal with Rybakina on a faster court and beating him in straights. Yeah, how would you see that one playing out?
I am going to pick Swiatek to get the win there if they do meet.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty exciting prospect. I'm picking a Gauff Swiatek final there.
Okay. Yeah. I'm finding this one really difficult because I guess I guess it's going to depend on who do I have more faith in, like showing up, Rybakina or Swiatek. And I guess it has to be Swiatek right now. Yeah, I guess that's what's likely, but I could see that being another really good match, or at least the first set being really, really close, as always seems to be whenever those two play. And then the rest of the match kind of goes based on how that first set went a lot of the time. So, yeah, I guess I've got to lean Swiatek as well. But if that's the semi-finals, I think we would be in for an absolute treat. I think you could get two epic 3-setters there.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, like, obviously going through the draw, it's in a way it's kind of a boring. I mean, it's like exciting because the quality, but it's we're not picking any serious, upsets and or any unexpected semi-finalists there. Gauff, Sabalenka, Rybakina, Swiatek, but it's just looking at the way the draw is that. I mean, potentially. I mean, the other players that might have had a chance to do well, maybe Zhang, but obviously being in Sabalenka's section just makes it unlikely, but it's possible. But I mean, even if Zhang managed to beat Sabalenka somehow, let's say, I think Gauff would take her out, and I still would expect. I'm still going with the Gauff Swiatek final, and I think Rybakina, as well. Maybe she has got a bit lucky in the draw, and so that's why I think she will sort of get through to the semis.
It's not going to be a top 4 seed lockout, which would be in previous slams if it was those four, which is the Vance bold pick traditionally. So I would agree with that assessment. That the fact is with this, Sabalenka, Gauff, and Swiatek are the clear top three in the world right now, and they're really good form, and that form's carried over through the first week of the year. Rybakina is the one we've got the biggest question marks about, but as you say, her draw, it's kind of on her if she doesn't make it. I mean, or an amazing performance from Paolini, like what happened at Roland Garros last year.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the other scenario. But Rybakina has got a draw that she can do things with. Although, having said that, fourth round against Keys or Collins would still be pretty tough.
Yeah, and if they get that far, and if this actually is the way that it turns out, I'm going to be pretty excited about these
I will
matches here.
probably see if I can stay awake for that. I don't think I could, but I'd try. So for me, I think that's where I would go with it. Okay, you've gone for Gauff Swiatek. I've gone for Sabalenka Swiatek. Now, in your scenario, if that is the final, Gauff Swiatek, Iga Swiatek will regain the world number one. If Sabalenka plays Swiatek in the final, it's whoever wins gets world number one.
Yeah, that would be exciting. But my pick is Gauff Swiatek, and I think that in these conditions and just how she's played, I think this might be Gauff's year, and that she will pip Swiatek in the final.
You think Gauff's going to get a third in a row against Swiatek?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think if Gauff is in the final, I think she absolutely can do that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really close to call that match, because I don't think Iga would stand for that. On the other hand, Coco is playing insanely well right now, and that's what makes it difficult to say that Sabalenka is going to beat her, because it's so close, and like the margins involved at this point of picking, like we're relatively confident in our semi-finals, but when it comes to who's winning out of those matchups, it's actually insanely close, and that's what makes the WTA so exciting right now. I am gonna go for the Sabalenka three-peat. I think Sabalenka here is just based on the odds of that happening, of like, who do I lean towards? I think Sabalenka hasn't gone up a gear yet, and when she does, things happen. So, I think that's who I would go for, just based on percentages, and it's a head thing. Honestly, I don't have... it's like 51-49 on that matchup, I think.
Yeah, I mean, probably it's the favorite, right? I mean, Sabalenka, you still probably have to make her maybe just the favorite for the title, but in terms of like, if you were looking at it statistically, but I just think that Gauff's she's hit this peak form at the right time, and I think this is now the time that she's going to do it, and she's going to step up and take the title this time.
On WTA Weekly, after United Cup, Brisbane, and Auckland. So the last show we did with Mario, Mario boldly compared Coco Gauff's start of the year, coming off the end of her previous year, to Yannick Sinner, 23-24. Is that, and bold pick for it's a bold pick for, like, Gauff. So this is the year of Coco Gauff, and she's going to do something similar, is kind of the most extreme conclusion you could get from that. But do you see this being the start of Gauff taking over at the top of tennis in 2024? Maybe not straight away at the Australian Open. I think she needs her rivals to have have bad results to do that. But do you see that happening this season?
That's quite a bold claim in terms of, because obviously Sinner has been so dominant, right? I mean, he's actually miles ahead of in the rankings. So I don't envisage that sort of gap, but I think it's a reasonable predict. I mean, if she does win this slam, then she has a great chance to do well. Yeah, I think she's going to carry that forward. I think just it's all coming together for her now. She looks much better, and forehand side, and just like everything, she just looks so fit, and everything is coming together right now. And like, yeah, it's just like, I mean, she's still, how old is she now? She's like, I forget her age now.
She's 20. She's going to turn 21 in March.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So she's still got levels, right? And probably in her game to go. So that is something, I think, Mario, in terms of predicting dominance, is not that out of the question. And obviously, when we head into clay after a little while, that's another surface that she can do really well in, and perhaps unlike the other players, she actually has an opportunity to do well in in all the slams. So that is something that maybe counts in her favor. So yeah, let's see how that goes, and if she can keep that going, she can definitely be number one for a while. Saying it is going to be the same as Jannik Sinner, I'm not sure about that, but
no, I think what Sinner kind of benefited from was Alcaraz not showing up as much as he could have last year. Maybe a little bit.
That's true.
So, given how their rivalry played out over that year, this is something that we'll probably get into on ATP Weekly, which is happening right now. By the way, it's just getting underway with Tom and Mario. So I think we'll end the episode on these thoughts and then get you over. But yeah, I think the problem Gauff's got is Sabalenka and Swiatek are still going to be there, and they're going to be in the mix, and they're going to be hounding her throughout the year. I think it's interesting that, we've got different world number ones at the end of this. I've got Sabalenka just clinging on to world number one at the end of all of it, and you've got Swiatek taking over as world number one based on Gauff beat her getting to the final and then losing to Gauff, and getting that ranking back. And then it's going to be, I think, this number one race for the rest of the year, depending on how Gauff and Swiatek do, could be absolutely fascinating between those three. And I'll see if there's anyone else involved. But we're getting too ahead of ourselves. Let's look forward to the Australian Open. I think we're fairly confident that it's going to be one of Sabalenka or Gauff winning it. We've both got Swiatek reaching the final and losing, but I don't think either of us would be shocked if Swiatek actually won that match, particularly if it's against Gauff. But I would be, and certainly I don't think she would be that much of an underdog in it. I think it would be 51-49 in either of those matchups. So yeah, I could see Swiatek winning this title, and I could also see Rybakina winning it.
Oh yeah, that would be something, especially with all the things going on recently. And then that would be quite something. But I mean, to be honest, we talked about Sabalenka doing it again, if Swiatek wins it for the first time, or and Gauff, then it becomes, all of those outcomes, the fact that I see them as all being quite reasonable. It says something about where those players are at the moment, and just looking forward to it.
Yeah. Even if whoever we picked for, we went for based on how we're kind of seeing the form land, but it's so close. It's so close. And it's taking everything within me to override my instinct to make Swiatek the winner in every single tournament. So, this is one of those times where I'm happy to be wrong. But, all right. I think we'll wrap it up there. Eddie, thank you so much for coming on. We always end up doing a bumper episode when we're previewing a draw. How do you find your first WTA Weekly, we think?
Yeah, great. I've enjoyed it. It's been good.
All right. We'll have you back for another.
Cheers, sir.
Have you looked at another episode? Right, I am gonna finish it there. Go and watch ATP Weekly if you're still with us. I think they're going to be doing a similar kind of draw breakdown, Tom and Mario. So give us a like if you're new to the channel. Like us, follow us on X or Instagram. Give us a subscribe on YouTube, and tune in also later where we're going to be giving you daily update, previews and reviews of the Australian Open action, starting with before the first ball tonight, which I'm going to be hosting, and then we'll do last ball drops at the close of all the action of the Australian Open, and you can kind of get all the wrap up happening. And we'll probably do updates during. We might do updates during some matches, but keep an eye on for our regular previews and reviews of the Australian Open. Thank you all so much for joining. I will see you hopefully tonight. In the meantime, take care and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.